A lot of people are realizing that present pastures are not productive enough. And that's some work that's been done through agri-profits and other things where producers submitted their numbers to be analyzed. When they did that, it's very disappointing to find how, if I'm a cow-calf producer and I submit my forage numbers, how do I find the productivity? We were very disappointed to see how low pasture production was. How can it pay the bills? How can it compete with existing cereal oilseed crops that are coming in and taking that landscape away? Well, rejuvenation of pasture so they are more productive. If you're looking at a situation, have a look at what you're doing. Take advantage of Forage and Applied Research Association's field days, and we at Union Forage work with them to help them around the province and across provinces for that matter. How can they look at rejuvenating a pasture but also rejuvenating their management to go with it? What are the right species to pick? How to go about rejuvenating this stand? Or should we just cut our losses? Take it out of production, put it into a break crop, and clean up our situation and restart. I often say if you're doing that, please take the message of management to heart and say, how am I going to manage differently that got me into this situation to begin with? We know that higher legumes in pastures are more profitable, more productive, and even with the cost of establishing, are amortized over years to be more profitable, more pounds of beef per acre, more pounds of milk per acre in dairy herds, lamb production and meat per acre. So it is important to look at rejuvenation in light of what you have and where you want to take it and why. I always encourage people to look at adding legumes first if they're going to try to sod seed, because that's the biggest difference maker in the picture. And if they're doing that, how do they manipulate the situation? Graham, in this example of the field we're sitting in, is a sod-seeded field. And with severe grazing, he came back in and sod-seeded it in 2017. So we're here 3 years later. And you'll see a bigger, broader picture, but right away you can see some robust plants in front of me. And if you could look across the landscape on this area around us, there are plants spread here, there, all over. And with that in mind, he's got alfalfa, sainfoin, Sicer milk vetch. We know that all legumes are an option depending on your needs. Some legumes are more vigorous than others, like red clover, alfalfa. Other legumes maybe simply, if they're seeded really nice and shallowly and everything, might take a while to come. But when they do start coming, and be patient here, we do say to you, pick your timing so that you have a moisture set of events in front of you to allow for a seedling to become established, to become competitive against the other species. And that's why early spring is a popular time for us to look at this. Or if we're too concerned, we'll often even use a glyphosate maybe in August on a stand, set it back pretty hard, and then come in just before the snow falls. But we're looking at sod seeding in a way that places the seed in the best place for success. And that usually is done with the drill of some form where you can put it into the soil a 1/2 inch deep, 1/4 inch deep, and close the row behind it. And if you do it late fall, you've got snow and spring moisture events, you hope. If you do it very early in spring, you might eat the green grass coming. And that is something I do think we've found some success that people are having with. So it's earlier than you'd think, getting it out there. And if you do worry about frost damage, which I would too, I'm still finding that it's worth the risk of trying to get it on so it can beat or compete with the competition of an existing stand. It's important after you do this that you monitor and give the plants, the seedlings, a chance to succeed. The fact of the matter is, you use that pasture only if you view everything to be coming really well and that seedling established. It is not a pasture that's part of your rotation now unless you're an extremely top-notch grazer. I myself am not. And though I've done it for 30 years, I don't consider myself skilled enough. I do know some people that are. But in my thought pattern, erring to leave the pasture, like Graham so much supports, has been really good for so many people in succeeding. For other people, I'd say be very careful. And if you're going to be grazing it, watch what the animals are eating so that they're not hurting your little seedlings. You do like to control the competition to some degree. It's unfortunate cows don't quite understand that, so that's why it's a challenging one. It's really important when you look at your situation and decide you're going to rejuvenate, know what you've got there. Part of knowing what you got there is taking a soil sample, 0 to 6, 6 to 12. Let's look at the shortage of fertility, the things that might limit a little seedling from establishing. If it's short of phosphorus, we know that doesn't help them establish. It's the opposite. So look at the fertility in advance, be prepared to fertilize it, broadcast or incorporate, but know your soil situation. And though these videos are coming out in the winter time, soil tests in the winter are a great way to start in knowing what you've got. 0 to 6, 6 to 12. I want to know sulfur and potassium with depth. That's why I'm trying to get down a little deeper, and it's true they're even deeper than that. But if I'm short of them, set yourself up for success by applying them at the same time as seeding, before seeding, whichever. The important thing is to know what you've got out there. Set it back, suppress it in some way. Do a soil test to know what you're deficient in. 0 to 6, 6 to 12. Apply the fertility, apply the suppression, and then go ahead and pick and choose the legumes, and if you're looking at grasses as well, that you're going to try to apply to that stand, and the timing of when you apply them. Be it really late in the fall, so they're going to germinate very early spring, or very early spring, so they're going to germinate and grow. I know we worry about frost, but I think that's probably something we have to accept. We are hopeful that these seedlings will be viable enough and able to compete in that frost early spring situation, to be in with the green growing grass, trying to develop a competitive seedling that then can be part of a greater stand. Monitor thereafter to see how it worked and how you succeeded or not, or why. So that's in a nutshell what I'd be looking at, I think, here.